Hey there, and welcome back to Health, Wealth and Happiness. I'm James.
I'm Joe.
And today's guest is Carl Pate. Carl today is going to share with us how he went from buying his employers out for a measly quid to selling the business 12 years later for multiple 8 figures. Now, since then, Carl has become a best-selling author with his controversial book, Making Shit Happen. And he teaches business leaders on the art of productivity through his own software. Carl, it's great to have you on board. How's it going, my man?
Fantastic. Thank you, James. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me on again.
That's awesome. It's good to have you. Fantastic. I'm sure everyone wants to know. Let's dive into this. Who is Carl Pate?
Okay, so this is my second career. So I had a almost 30-year career in finance, and then which I think we're going to talk about in a moment. And then I came from that finance career into becoming an entrepreneur, and I've done various things since. So business called Productivity Powerhouse, another business called Undercover Entrepreneur, where we help people to become entrepreneurs, which is what I went through a few years ago. And yeah, and productivity is my thing. That's the thing that's driven me for years and years and years.
How did you get into that then? So how did you become sort of the go-to expert on productivity? Well,
I think I started studying personal development. I can't even remember what it was now, 20, 30 years ago. And all of the lessons seem to keep coming back to productivity, seem to coming back to the same idea of how you get the most out of your life. And so I'd made notes. I mean, I've got a cupboard full of notes that I'd made from listening to CDs and DVDs and all this stuff when I was driving into work. And with an idea of writing a book about it later. But it just kept coming back to that same theme. And then when I started doing the book, that was when I realized it was all the productivity stuff. And so that was the kind of the genesis of it all. It all started with the guy who we all know, which is Tony Robbins.
Fantastic. So you take a lot of inspiration from his work then in what you do?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and it was where it actually started. So I was waking up one morning, go and let the dogs out, and seeing the Get the Edge commercial with Tony on it.
Yeah. And
I went away, instead of buying the £120 set of CDs, I went away and bought one CD for 10 quid and listened to it a load of times, and then realised actually I could get some more value out of the bigger set of CDs. Because who the hell spends 120 quid on a set of CDs?
When with this as well?
It's easy 20 years ago.
Right, okay.
Which just scares the life out of me. And that's part of the reason why we do the Undercover Entrepreneur stuff now, which is about helping people of our age, my age, not our age, I mean when I say our, I mean my business partner and I, rather than our you guys. 50, because I was 52 this year.
Okay.
So that age thing has really driven me to getting out and helping people to become entrepreneurs and do all the stuff that we need to do to take control. And now is a classic time and a classic example of why this is so important.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I guess the meat and potatoes of this, let's dive into this. What are the biggest tips and advice we have for becoming more productive, more productive in what we do each day? What are your biggest tips and advice?
Well, I mean, the biggest tips is the first one is what you already do, which is about getting your energy levels right. So the biggest bang for your buck within any of your productivity strategies is sorting your energy levels out. Because with that, you get to use that from the moment you get up until the moment you go to bed. Strategies are great, but the strategies are great when you're using them. If you get your energy levels right, it's great all the time. And so it's not all about always doing, but it's about having that maximum energy level so that when you are doing the things that you need to be doing, when you're taking the actions you need to be taking, you've got that in you to just get up and make it happen. Because, when we haven't got that energy, then, that drag makes such a difference to how much we get done and the quality of what we get done as well, which is even more important.
And what tips would you give on increasing energy levels then for someone that's listening?
The 5 things that I talk about, and you're much more expert in this field than I am, but the 5 things that I would talk about are food, intermittent fasting, resistance training, exercise, and downtime or sleep. So I use the word getting fired up. Yeah. And so that's the sort of thing that we work with. But I don't give sort of food strategies or anything like that. But it's about finding people like yourselves to help them to help people to to get these strategies absolutely right, because when you do, it changes everything.
Okay, so questions on my mind. Multitasking. My missus always tells me I can't multitask at all, and I know I can't. I can't focus on more than one thing at any one time, otherwise I just drift. Is it a real thing?
Correct. You can't multitask. Nobody can. I mean, we keep on talking about multitasking. People, some people wear it as a badge of honor, like, multitasking. But when you're multitasking, all the switching time between the different tasks that you're trying to do takes up so much energy. If you're trying to do just two things, that doesn't take 50% of your time each. It takes about 40% of your time, and 20% of your time is lost in the switch from one place to the next. And so when you try to do all of these things together, and when we talk about multitasking generally, we're not talking about two things, we're talking about 10 things. Where you're trying to do all these different things at the same time, and none of it's got your full set of energy. If you get, the second thing that I would talk about is focus being the fastest bang for your buck. And that is what this is all about. It's about not multitasking, and you get down and you do something, you get super focused, you just do that, everything else is shut out, and you just get focused and you just do it. That will move you forward much faster than you trying to do 10 different things. No question.
You speak about focus, and I assume what you're talking about is planning. And I know a bit of the work that you've done in the past, Carl, is about this 3-1-1 planning, am I right in saying? What does this entail, and how do people start implementing this moving forward?
Yeah, so one of the greatest things that you can do for a focus point of view is to get yourself a plan. Yeah. So some people talk about not having lists. Yeah, you shouldn't have to-do lists because they just get frustrating. What they mean is you shouldn't have crap to-do lists. And no, you shouldn't. You should have good ones. But also you need to realise, and this is a really strange thing to say perhaps, but you need to realise that we're all going to die with a big, long to-do list. We're not going to get it all done. And so we stress ourselves out about having this long to-do list of all this stuff that we've got to do. And we want it done. Well, it won't be. It's never going to be done. And so as soon as you can get your head around that, you start to realize that the goal of today is to make progress. So it's not to do all of those things on your list, to make some progress. So the way that you make that progress is that you do this 3-1-1, take the 3-1-1 strategy. So you say, right, for today, what are the 3 outcomes that I must achieve today? Outcomes, not necessarily actions, but outcomes that I want to achieve. Out of those 3 actions, what is the one most important, the single most important of those outcomes that I must get done today? And if I go to bed tonight, I've done that, then I'll go to bed happy. And then the one at the end is what's the very next action in taking you towards that goal. So then, so it's 3 outcomes, 1 super outcome, and very next action.
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, it's tidy, isn't it? Nice little formula. And I know you said in the past, Carl, reading some of your work, you said that really preparation and getting more efficient work done actually starts, the next day actually starts at night. Am I right in saying?
Yeah. Yes.
What's your idea behind that?
Absolutely. I think morning rituals are fantastic. It's the place, everyone gets to start their day. Everyone wakes up and starts their day, whether it's at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, whatever it is, everyone gets up to start their day. And so that's really the time when you have some control. So if you can create your morning rituals to give you a powerful start to the day, then that's the best thing to do. The idea there, though, we can come back to morning rituals in a second if you like, but the best way to get your morning ritual itself off to a good start is by starting your day the night before. Because if you've not prepared yourself the night before, and you're dragging because you ate too late and whatever else is going on, you didn't do the things to get yourself ready, you haven't got your plans, your desk's a mess when you get into the office, then your morning ritual kind of doesn't work as well. And so what we need to be doing is starting the day the night before, and there's 3 elements to it. You get your body ready, you get your mind ready, and you get your environment ready. So getting your body ready is all about what you eat, when you eat, what you drink, when you drink, just getting yourself ready so that you can have a good night's sleep. For me, this is super important because I've got a problem with my esophagus. My esophagus doesn't work. So it doesn't squeeze food. So I kind of have to rely upon gravity and time. food to go down. So if I eat late at night and I eat the wrong things, then I'll be up all night with food sort of choking me and unable to breathe and all that sort of stuff going on. And so having that point of getting your body ready and making sure you eat at the right time, because your body the digestive system takes up a huge amount of energy. So if you go to sleep and you're still digesting your food, you're not getting a proper night's sleep. So that's the first thing. The second thing is getting your getting your mind ready. So that means setting your plans, getting yourself ready for the following day. Because if you set a plan the night before for the following day, then during the night, your brain's going to be working on it. It's going to be working on things whilst you're asleep. Your subconscious mind's working on it. And that in itself, I mean, for me, that's fantastic. So I have a pad of paper and one of these pens here that's got a little light in the end. That one's not working. Here we go. Let's find this one. There we go. Got a little light in the end. So that if I wake up in the morning, I wake up in the middle of the night, I've got something on my mind, I'll just scribble, put the light on, scribble on the pad. And
you need one of them, don't you, Joe?
I could do it. Honestly,
it's the best tool I've got.
I'm so bad for it. I will wake up. Like people say I sleep like a baby. I actually do, where I will, and I'm a bit better now, but where I sleep for 3 hours, then I'm awake. Then I'm asleep for another 3 hours, then I'm awake.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things for me. If I I have a notepad and pen next to the bed. And if I wake up at 1 a.m. thinking of something, if I don't write it down, I'm not going back to sleep at all.
Yeah.
But I go old school and turn the light on, wake my missus up, and then I write it down. So I'll have to invest in a few of them.
Let me have your address. I'll send you a pen.
Fantastic. I think it goes back to one of the first episodes we did on this, and we were talking about how routines and structure is everything in, controlling the frame and becoming a lot more efficient in what we do. And I know Joe was saying this is massive for him, the routines and habits and everything for him. It seems like, almost one of these evening routines set in stone as well as your morning routines.
Yes. Yeah. Because the other thing after getting your mind ready and getting your plans and everything for the day, then it's getting your environment ready. And so that means, if you're going to exercise in the morning, put your workout kit next to the bed so you've got no excuse. If you get your desk clear the night before, so that when you wake up, you've not got all of that different stuff distracting you. Because time management is distraction management. So you get the distractions away, then you can roll straight into your day with you in control, not with somebody else in control. So never have looking at email as part of your morning ritual.
Yeah.
So somebody else is taking control of your day at that stage.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that. Sorry to come in here. I think, what we said also, like what we see with a lot of people is when they wake up each morning, they just roll on their side, they go onto social media, and already they've been dragged along by the day, by the leash, instead of actually controlling the frame and actually, influencing the outcome of their day. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, social media is a fantastic tool. Particularly at the moment, all of this stuff where we can still socially interact, even though we can't physically interact anymore at the moment. That's all great, but it's great when it's used properly. When it's used ineffectively as a distraction away from your day, or so that you've just got something to do when you first wake up, your first thing for lots of people is grab the phone and start scrolling through Facebook. Yeah. Well, number one, there's not often very good news on there at the moment. So that starts you off in a bad way. And then, it's somebody else who's going to be pushing your buttons as to where you're going to go. So you getting up, start your day, and you have that control. And because at some stage in the day, things are going to take over. The dynamic nature of everyone's life at the moment is that something's going to come in. You're going to get a phone call. You're going to get things that will take over. But that first part of your day is super important because that's where you're in control. Nobody else has got that. That's yours. And you've got to keep that sacred.
So in other words, you're saying only hop on social media in the morning if you're listening to this podcast. Yeah.
For that only. Yes, absolutely.
Have it on repeat. Go to bed listening to it. Wake up listening to it. Ignore what Cole's saying. This is good for you.
But that's a good point, because that is that's you specifically deciding to go on to a podcast or, and listening to something that's going to enrich your day and get you ready to go. So as part of your morning ritual, that is an excellent idea. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Decent. How are you coping at the minute? Lockdown and not leaving the house?
I mean, we largely online like this anyway, to be fair. I think the challenge is that a lot of businesses now see coaching and mentoring as kind of discretionary spend that isn't something that they want to do at the minute. So that's a challenge. But I mean, there's still things that are going on. I mean, like, you can still go out to work. I mean, I've got it's all about doing different things, and this is the entrepreneurial nature of this. How do you take this situation? How do you take stuff that's going on at the moment and figure out how you can use it? I mean, at the moment, I'm working post-administration. So a business went into administration, and I'm clearing the rubbish out of a site that had gone into administration after the administrators have left. So that's part of it. I mean, we're socially isolated because there's like one person in 20,000 foot building. But it's finding those things that you can do. And I think that it is a real challenge, the social isolation. And it's challenging in so many ways. But I think it's also going to be a challenge even post this, because I start getting uncomfortable now when people walk past me too close.
I had this chat with someone the other day, and I think this will last a long time,
Well,
because it's all right. I'm saying in 3 months, right, off you go, you can travel, you can fly again, do what you want. But I mean, I won't be taken for one. And I'd like to think I'm quite pragmatic in my approach, but I can't see myself flying, especially my family, to Spain in the next coming months when they tell us we can.
Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it? It's a real difficult one to know when it actually ends. Because when people tell you that you can go out and do stuff again, is kind of only the start of it, isn't it? Psychologically, we're not going to go and get into crowds.
Yeah.
Because we've been conditioned now, we're in a conditioning process at the moment of saying, you can't get close to that person. As soon as you get close to that person, there's a danger of something happening.
I read the highlights of a research paper that came out of Harvard, where they're saying that they think we'll practice social distancing even through 2022.
I can believe that. Yeah,
it's 2 years away.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. Because when do we know? We don't know when it stopped. No one's got a magic button that says on the 18th of July, there's nothing left.
We've almost got to expect like a second wave of it's going to come when we lift the lockdown, aren't we?
But I do think on the positive side of things, I think this will change the way business is done forever. And I'm in the financial services industry, and I've already seen that massive shift all the way through to how the financial advisors are working. I mean, again, it's still quite an old school industry where it's very much, I like to see the white of their eyes, and I like them to see the white of my eyes, and I like to shake hands and all this. And going from that to this, to also the client expectations of it as well, where 3 months ago, it was quite difficult getting someone to jump on a Zoom call at the other side of the world, where a lot of my clients are, but now it's expected, it's the norm, and it's same with the institutions we use. So a lot of them have gone away from needing a wet ink signature. They're now using DocuSign. They're using technology to enable and make it easier to do business, which is great. And I can imagine that being the case in most industries.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Jim. I think there's a big change that's coming at the end of this. It's the home working revolution. Now that everyone realizes they can work from home, they will work from home, because who wants to sit for an hour or 2 hours a day in traffic? Nobody wants to do that. It's not productive use of your time. It's frustrating. It's not healthy. Everything's wrong with that. So something's going to change there. And I mean, part of what I'm doing as well is we're getting shipping containers and converting them into home offices for people to just dump in the back garden. So that's another thing. It's looking for little opportunities that come along that serve people. It's not about taking advantage; it's about serving people. And so that's something else that we're looking at the moment.
I could do one of them for my wife and kids some days, to be fair.
Yeah. But things change now, and technology is going to advance much, much faster, I think, than we thought. Because my business partner, Paul Hornsby-Pennell, written a book called Surfing the Techno Tsunami, which was a challenge to get people to listen to. Because what it was saying was in 2030, technology is going to be so far advanced that there's going to be about 120 million job losses in the UK and the US.
Can you imagine not many people wanting to read that?
Nobody wants to listen to that until this happens. And then this happens. And now all of a sudden you're getting people saying, why don't we bring all of the jobs that we let go to China, we bring those back into our own factories in the UK and the US? Well, there's a couple of things that kind of don't work with that. One is, and this is part of where my background was from, part of it is that those factories are not just sitting there waiting to be used. They haven't just mothballed them with a view to lighting them up in 20 years' time. They've gone. So that needs to be restarted. But also the labour costs, which were the reason that things started to move into a different location, still won't, the economics of that still won't work if it's something that requires labour. Because if you bring all that back to the UK or the US, and then the cost of that goes up, so therefore people can't afford it, so therefore you got to increase wages, and if you increase wages, you increase the cost of the goods, and it just spirals out of control. And so, but what can happen is technology taking over. Because when technology takes over, you can put that into whichever location you want to. And technology is going to be the real big driver to the next phase of this. So home working, technology, this is huge. And we were talking about that in 2030, and now we're having a proper conversation about it in 2020, which is staggeringly fast. And it's going to change. I think everything's going to change to degrees that we can't even understand at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay.
For sure. Just coming back to productivity here for a second. For you personally, with coronavirus, the lockdown right now, has your routines of generating more productivity changed to how they usually would? Have you changed your process or your strategy?
No, not really.
Everything stays the same.
I mean, I was working from home anyway, so my sort of base is here now. So my commute, rather than being an hour into Nottingham as it was, is a minute across the hallway into the office. So in that way, that's still okay. You can still create things, you can still think about things, and it's about figuring these multiple streams of income. So we're having to, at the moment, in our coaching mentoring business, we're reassessing how the flow of that. So instead of jumping people straight into the more expensive one-on-one coaching, which people are finding challenged to accept at the moment, not because they don't believe in it, but because they don't know what the hell's coming down the line, whether they need it or what they want to be coached on or whatever else. So that's got to be changed, and so we're moving that into more group versions. I know you're big on the group stuff anyway, James, and so we're moving towards the group stuff so that we can help more people, but at much lower cost. And so we're just reorganizing that at the moment. But then it's about finding these other things, finding the post administration work. Because I mean, there's going to be businesses that are being secure at the moment because of the banks needing to help people through coronavirus. But there will be a whole host of those things that go to the wall once the shutters go up again and everything's back open. There's going to be a whole host of things that change, and that opens up opportunities for people, which it's not meant to sound callous, but when these things happen, opportunities come along, and you either sit and you focus on the problem, or you look for the opportunity and make something else happen. And I think that's where we need to be going, and we need to be looking at these multiple sort of streams of income. So I've created my software, I've written my book, I've got the courses, I've got the coaching. So there's lots of different things and different levers that you can pull when you've got those options to you. When you're an employee and you get furloughed, you've not got the experience, you've not got the thought process that says, right, okay, well, how can I do this? How can I make something out of that? Because you've been in it. I mean, I was there for 30 years.
But surely that's the time when people should be taking on board what you're saying more than ever. And this is a perfect time to upskill in whatever it is you want to learn.
Perfect. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if ever there was a time for you to get focused on making a change, if you've had a thought about getting out of the world of the employee and becoming an entrepreneur, then now's the time to really explore that. And that's what we're trying to do with people. So we're lowering costs. We've got a specific one-off thing that's a very reasonable investment that helps people to explore what they can do next. Because we thought, and this was really interesting, because we used to talk about this before all this happened. We talk about the sort of fake security of a job. And that's been blown wide open now, hasn't it? I mean, you can see how insecure that security was when everything disappears. Whereas when you are the one in control, you're the one who's thinking about how you're creating these new streams of income. You're the entrepreneur. You're the one who's actually creating what's going on inside of your life. You have some control there. It might not be easy, but you're the one who's in control. You can go out and you can think differently. Whereas if you're an employee waiting for that job in your industry to open up again, I don't know, is it going to be May, June, July, August? When's it going to be? How long are the government going to pay 80% of your salary for? I don't know. I don't know how long that can even possibly last.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you make. It goes back to mindset. We see a lot of people having that scarcity mindset of doubt, fear, and uncertainty, of just sort of falling back a little bit instead of having that state of abundance where you're actually leaning into this and saying, you know what, where's the opportunity? How can I move forward? How can I level up? I think you're right. It's not taking advantage. It's still serving people, but finding a way to serve people.
Yes. And you failing does not help those other people who failed.
Yeah.
You getting into the same boat as the people who are sinking doesn't help them. You create a business. You go out and do something so that some of those people, they could be your employees in 6 months' time.
Okay. $1 million question. If you could do it all again, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old called Pate?
The biggest thing that I talk about, and the biggest thing that I would always go back to, is consistency. It's following through with something long term. It's being properly, truly consistent in things, because most of the time people think of consistency as with negative ideas behind it. It's constricting. If I'm consistent about this and if I'm just doing those things, then, I can't be creative. Well, yes, you can. You just get consistent in the things that support you, so that everything else, all the rest of your time, you can use for driving your creativity and driving the rest of your life. But without consistency, nothing works. Nothing works. My son does karate. He's done it for now, gosh, how old is he now? He's 17. So he must have been doing it for like 9 or 10 years. So he took a proper length of time to get to his black belt. It wasn't just like, I want to get there in 2 years, or I want to get there in a year. It was taking a proper amount of time, and it's doing it consistently. And that's the thing that really makes things happen. If you're just dabbling in this and that, you never get the results. And then people think, because they're consistent for a little period of time, and then they don't get the results, and so they stop. And so you're right.
I suppose that's also a fine line as well, that when you are at that age, you don't know what you want to do. And so I completely agree with you on consistency. And a similar example to your son. I mean, I boxed from being 10, 11-year-old up to being 20, 21 when I stopped chasing the dream and started chasing beer and women instead.
Different dream.
Yeah. But again, at that age, I mean, do you not think you should dabble in different things? Do you not think you should try different things to find what it is that you want to do?
Yes, I mean, I think you do have to try different things. Of course you do, because nobody knows, certainly at that age, I mean, what it is that you are going to be. And you've got to have flexibility in all of this, but you've also got to have staying power. and you've got to be, you know, last man standing is a great place to be.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you just go running down the wrong road and you've got to keep going down there. You've got to always have one eye on everything else that's going on. So if you are being, if you are being consistent in certain area, but you're being consistently wrong, you know, that's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about it's about just making sure that the basics, really what I'm talking about, I suppose, is the basics. You be consistent around the basics, but you still got to keep your mind on new opportunities and new ways for you to take things, new places for you to go.
I know your number 3 point, your number 3 tip is system. I'm right in saying so. It's energy, focus, and system. So what are you saying here? It's consistency in that system.
Yes, consistency in your system. Yes, I mean, you build a system around your life. I mean, this is the software that we created, Daily Life Tracker. You build a system around your life. You segregate your life out into sort of 6 areas. Let's say health, finance, relationships, emotions, personal development, life management. So everything that you do can fit into those 6 areas. It doesn't have to be them, but, you know, fits in there. And then you ask the question or answer the statement, I am at my best when ... What is it? And so when you say ... you know, I am at my best when I drink 8 glasses of water a day, when I exercise every morning, when I make 5 cold calls first thing before 10 o'clock, you know, whatever it is in those different areas of your life, what are those things that make you the best person that you can be? Get consistent in those. Get consistent in the basics. One thing that I talk about is John Wooden, the basketball coach, is one of the most successful coaches ever. And what he used to do was get the players to play the basics. So to be free throw after free throw after free throw, you know, thousands of times. Not because they were going to have thousands of free throws in a game, but they knew it was going to happen. So when it happened, boom, it went. Chaos of the game, they're losing, the stuff happening, free throw, done. And it's the same with your life. If you get those basics that I've just been talking about, I'm at my best when, you get them sorted, when chaos hits you, like now, you carry on with those basics because you know, you just do it. You're not going to think about it, you just do it. And those things are done. When those basics are taken care of, you're strong. And when you're strong, you can cope with the rest of the shit that comes at you.
So what you say, ultimately what happens is you get unconscious competence.
Yeah.
Your autopilot.
Yes. Yeah. Autopilot is where we naturally tend towards because we want to, because you can't be thinking about all of those things all the time because it's too energy sapping. Awesome.
Fantastic. So Carl, tell us, where can the listeners find you? Social media handles, where can they find out about your book and everything else?
Yep. So the book's available on Amazon. So that's Making Shit Happen.
Great title.
With a C. So you can get the book there. My email address is carl@productivitypowerhouse.com or carl@undercover-entrepreneur.com. So we've got various, I mean, find me on Facebook, Carl Pate, but also we've got Undercover Entrepreneur, Productivity Powerhouse.
So yeah, fantastic. Well, Carl, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I've loved it. I'll be back on.
Nice one, Carl. Cheers.
Have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks, guys. You take care. Bye.